The Bible compares Egypt to a fertile garden like the Garden of Eden. The Israelites who came to Egypt in the days of Joseph were fruitful and multiplied and filled the land. But there was a serpent in the garden. The Bible says Pharaoh was a twisting serpent who enslaved the people and schemed to bring the male offspring of Israel under the judgment of death. Threatened by the number of children born to the Israelites, Pharaoh commanded that all the newborn male children of Israel be thrown into the Nile River. But a child was born who would deliver his people, the infant Moses. In defiance of Pharaoh, Moses' mother hid him for 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she intervened to save her son. She made a small ark out of bulrushes, coated with tar and pitch, and placed Moses inside it, trusting the same God who delivered Noah from the deadly waters of the flood to deliver her infant son from the deadly waters of the Nile. Then she laid Moses, the child condemned to death, among the wooden reeds of the Nile River. When Pharaoh's daughter came down to the Nile to bathe, she saw the ark and sent her servant girl to bring it up out of the water. When she opened it, she had compassion on the crying baby and adopted him as her son. Moses was delivered from death and raised to the royal house of Pharaoh. In time, he would lead God's people out of bondage in Egypt at the Red Sea, and the good news of God's deliverance would go out to all the nations. But as for the Egyptians, who had hurled the Israelite children into the waters of the Nile, God would hurl Pharaoh and his chariots into the waters of the Red Sea. Does the story of Moses point to Jesus? Like Pharaoh, Satan, the serpent of old, schemed to bring us under the judgment of death. But a child was born who would deliver us, Jesus, the Son of God. Like Moses, he would be condemned to death as a young child. Threatened by the wise men's report of a child born king of the Jews, King Herod commanded all the male children of Bethlehem be put to death by the sword. But like Moses' mother, Jesus' earthly father, Joseph, intervened to save his son by taking him down to Egypt. Ironically, in the days of Jesus, Israel had become spiritually like Egypt, while Egypt itself had become a land of refuge. Later, like Moses, the innocent Jesus, who was condemned to death, was laid on the wooden cross and spent 3 days buried in the grave, which he had compared to baptism through the waters. But after 3 days, like Moses, Jesus was delivered from death and raised to the right hand of God. In a far greater work than Moses, Jesus led God's people out of bondage to sin and death forever. And the good news of his deliverance would go out to all the nations. But as for Satan, the serpent of old, God would hurl him and his angels into the lake of fire.